In the small town of Pineville, whispers of an abandoned house at the end of Willow Lane had long sparked curiosity among the locals. The house, once grand, now stood decrepit, its walls sagging and windows shattered, casting eerie shadows under the moonlight. One stormy night, a group of friends, driven by tales of hauntings, decided to explore the house. As they crossed the threshold, a chilling wind swept through, extinguishing their flashlights and plunging them into darkness. They stumbled through the rotting corridors, their footsteps echoing in the silence. Strange noises and whispers seemed to follow them, growing louder with each step they took deeper into the house. In the basement, they found old, dusty furniture and a mirror covered in grime. As they wiped the dust away, the reflection revealed not just their faces, but shadowy figures moving behind them. One of the friends, Sarah, noticed a door at the far end of the basement, partially hidden behind a tattered curtain. Her curiosity got the better of her, and she approached the door, only to find it locked and covered in strange symbols. As she examined the symbols, the air grew colder and the whispers became frantic. The other friends began to feel a heavy presence around them, and panic set in as they realized they were not alone. They tried to leave the basement, but the door they had come through was now blocked. The whispers turned into guttural growls and shadowy forms began to materialize, their eyes glowing with malevolence. Desperate to escape, they turned back to the locked door, which suddenly creaked open on its own. Inside, they found an old journal with cryptic entries about dark rituals and the souls trapped in the house. The journal revealed that the house had once belonged to a cult that practiced forbidden rites, sealing away the souls of those who dared to enter. As they read the last entry, the shadows grew stronger, and a cold, suffocating fear enveloped them. In a final, frantic attempt to escape, they dashed for the stairs, but the house seemed to twist and shift around them. The friends became disoriented, and one by one, they were pulled into the shadows, their screams echoing through the darkness. By morning, the house was silent once more, the storm having passed. When the townsfolk came to investigate the abandoned house, they found it empty, with no sign of the friends except for the journal lying open on the basement floor. The house remained a grim reminder of the darkness that lurked within its walls, and the tale of the missing friends became another ghost story whispered among the people of Pineville. The mirror, now covered again with grime, reflected only the sorrowful silence that had settled over Willow Lane. Years passed, and the tale of the missing friends faded into local legend. But Pineville had not forgotten the eerie events, and the house at the end of Willow Lane remained a place of dark fascination and fear. One day, a historian named Dr. Emily Carter, intrigued by the legend, arrived in town to research the abandoned house. Armed with her camera and a sense of scholarly curiosity, she set out to uncover the truth behind the stories. Dr. Carter found the house even more decrepit than before, with vines climbing over its crumbling facade. She entered the house, noting the oppressive silence and the musty smell of decay that filled the air. As she explored, she found strange markings on the walls and old photographs scattered on the floor. The photographs depicted people she didn't recognize, but their eyes seemed to follow her with a haunting intensity. In the basement, she discovered the same old mirror and journal that had been found years earlier. The journal's pages were yellowed and fragile, filled with disturbing accounts of rituals and the torment of trapped souls. Driven by both fear and fascination, Dr. Carter read aloud from the journal. The whispers and growls from that fateful night seemed to stir, growing louder and more menacing as she spoke the forbidden words. Suddenly, the basement grew colder, and the shadows in the corners of the room began to move, Dr. Carter's camera captured fleeting images of ghostly figures and ominous symbols appearing and disappearing in the dim light. In a panic, she tried to leave the basement, but the stairs seemed to stretch endlessly before her. The walls began to close in, and she could hear the faint cries of the lost souls pleading for release. She remembered the symbols on the locked door and decided to trace them with her fingers, hoping to find a clue to escape. As she touched the last symbol, the door creaked open, revealing a small, hidden chamber filled with ancient relics and a large, ominous altar. The altar was covered in dark stains, and a book lay open, its pages covered in a strange, shifting script. As she approached, the shadows coalesced into a dark, towering figure with hollow eyes that seemed to pierce her very soul. In a desperate bid to survive, Dr. Carter grabbed the book and began to recite the incantations written within. The shadows writhed and screamed, their forms flickering between solidity and nothingness as the words echoed through the chamber. The room shook violently, and the figure loomed closer, its presence suffocating and filled with malice. As Dr. Carter completed the final incantation, a blinding light erupted from the book, and the figure was momentarily thrown back. When the light faded, Dr. Carter found herself alone in the chamber, the shadows gone, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. She quickly fled the house, clutching the book tightly, determined to understand its secrets and prevent further tragedies. Outside, she looked back at the house, which now appeared even more decrepit and foreboding than before. The door to the basement, now securely shut, seemed to whisper promises of hidden horrors waiting to be uncovered. Dr. Carter left Pineville, vowing to research the book's origins and protect others from the dark forces she had encountered. The abandoned house at Willow Lane remained a grim monument to the dark past and a warning to those who might seek to uncover its secrets. Pineville went back to its quiet life, but the legend of the house endured, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked within and the courage required to face it. The house stood silent once more, waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to enter its shadowed corridors.